Hi everyone, I'm Jocelyn, and I am grateful you're here. You're listening to the Starting with Gratitude podcast. This is a safe space intended to host meaningful conversations exploring all topics of the human experience. Every conversation starts with gratitude and remains rooted in gratitude. After you listen, make sure to join the community by subscribing and sharing. I am so happy you have joined us. Hello, Jada.
Hello.
How is your spirit doing in this moment?
I'm doing pretty good. Of course, natural social anxiety, so I'm a little bit I guess adrenaline rush a little bit, but I'm good overall.
That's good to hear. I am genuinely excited and honored to have this conversation with you because I've been following you on Twitter for a while, and I just feel like I can relate to so much that you share. And I'm just excited to get to know a little bit more about you and feel just honored to share a bit of your story with everyone who listens and watches this. So thank you so much for sharing space with me.
Of course, I am honored as well. Super, super excited. So yeah, I'm excited to hear anything that you have to say, to share what I have to say, I guess. And yeah.
Before we get started, I'm going to have you share with us your expression of gratitude.
Yes. So I have a few things. My birthday is next Tuesday, so this upcoming Tuesday. So as I've gone through this entire year overall, it's been great. It's been life-changing, a lot of new experiences, but I feel like I'm in my 8th house year. So I feel like towards the end, like the past 2 months, it's just been like transformation after transformation after transformation. So I'm grateful just for being able to get through this year, being able to fully enjoy it. I've grown immensely. Just for the past 2 years overall, it's been a lot of growth, which I'm so grateful for. I am so grateful for my parents. I've chosen to move back home. I used to live in New York, and I've chosen to move back home for a little bit. And my parents have been very supportive. And my mom loves that I'm back home. And, they're planning some great big things for my birthday, which is awesome. I'm also grateful for my sister. I'm grateful for my dogs as well. And I just started working with a new therapist after spending maybe like a year and a half without one and just kind of floating on my own. I finally chose to get a therapist, and it's been really, really great. I'm not really looking, of course, I'm looking for like guidance and help to how to work out my anxiety and problems like that. But it's also just really nice to have someone to talk to and to be present with me and not have any sort of judgments or criticism or anything. They're just here to listen to me. So it's been really, really nice. I am also grateful for, I wrote down a list. I am also, I had to, I was like, there's so many things. So I wanted to get it down to like 6. So I'm also grateful for my drive and my passion. I've just started pole class in early May, and my progress has been incredible. I have class today after this, so I'm very, very excited. It's been a really, really great experience. It's definitely helping me find my own flow in my body. And it's also helping with like kind of the body dysphoria I've been dealing with lately, just with quarantine and feeling like I look different than how I used to. So it's just been really great to feel confident in myself and feel like I can move and have more mobility and flexibility. And I'm also very grateful for my healthy friendships. Since I'm returning back home, I've definitely connected with people from high school, which has been really great. I've also but I still have my friends in New York, and they've planned a trip for the end of June for my birthday, which is incredible and awesome. And I'm also just grateful for the opportunity to be here. And I'm very, very honored.
I love that. And I love just everything that you feel grateful for. It sounds like you are going through a lot of your own self transformations and healings and acceptance of change. And
Yes.
I'm excited to get into all of that. We are in the midst of eclipse season and retrograde season. How has this specific season been for you? Like, what themes have been coming up?
So everyone is always, of course, on Twitter, everyone is always like, oh my gosh, Mercury retrograde, it's going to be so horrible and I'm so stressed out. So my natal chart, I have a natal Mercury retrograde in Gemini. So I feel just at home, like no sort of difference, no sort of change. I feel like right now I've definitely felt way more in tune to myself, to others. The messages and the way in which I've been communicating has been so much stronger. Definitely have gained a lot of clarity about things that have been kind of hiding beneath the surface, especially within therapy. I've had a really good conversation with my girlfriend about something. So it's been really great overall for me in reference to Mercury retrograde, as they usually are. Honestly, it's just nice to have it in my home planet, and it's Gemini season, so I just feel spectacular.
Yeah.
As for the eclipses, so the full moon eclipse, with it being in Sagittarius, I don't know if I felt anything super specific the day of. I feel like the following few weeks, it was definitely kind of like, okay, what's going on here? My dreams were so intense, like absolutely wild. And now with today being the full moon, the new moon in Gemini with the eclipse, I'm kind of just trying to enjoy myself. I don't want to put a lot of weight or expectations on what this will bring or what to expect or what I need to do. Sometimes I just like being present and being here. So that's what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like that's something that I have been trying to be or like practice being more aware of, I guess, when it comes to manifestation is just being just simply present and acknowledging how it really is like in the present moment where we are most powerful.
Yes, exactly.
And I feel like sometimes when we get so caught up on trying to manifest, we're so fixated like on the future and things that we want that we like lose sight of the current blessings that we have now.
Exactly.
So I love that you're in just feeling present and being present. You did mention how this year has been very transformative for you. Last year, I feel like it was inevitably transformational for all of us, right? With
Yes.
everything that was going on and just how much our lives have changed. And I personally thought that this year was going to be like, okay, like life coming back in order, like and it is, but I still honestly didn't expect it to be just as transformational as last year. Do you feel the same?
I definitely feel like, of course, last year was so unexpected and pretty overwhelming. I'm very thankful for the support system I had, and my family were okay, my friends were okay. But last year also shown a light on especially like the American government or just Western Eurocentric government overall, and how much they just lack care for their people.
Mm-hmm.
So this year it's, that year we kind of lost our structure and lost our foundation. Well, we never really had it, but this year is kind of like we're losing our trust in one another, our trust in others. We're losing our support system. Like everyone is kind of floating on their own. A lot of people, don't have their jobs back yet. And then people who did have their jobs, but were working from home, they're choosing to quit because who wants to go back into the office? So it's just
Mm-hmm.
a lot of like us finally facing a lot of things that we've never chosen to address before on a political
Mm-hmm.
level, a spiritual level, emotional, physical, mental. And it's still overwhelming, still very, very overwhelming. And, my hope for everyone is just so I guess they can find their own freedom and whatever that means for them and not feel so held down either by the government or, their health problems and all of those things.
Yeah, yeah. There is, I love that you highlighted like this continued theme, I guess, of like dismantling in our lives, where it was like forced upon us last year, but this year it's like, it's almost like we ourselves are choosing to continue to change and are
Yeah,
realizing like, okay, this is still overwhelming, but it's necessary.
so necessary. Yes.
What have been some of like the necessary changes in your life that you feel open to sharing that you've come to terms with?
I think maybe possibly one of the most, yeah, maybe me, actually, I feel like I'm not even sure. I think for myself this year, like of course I've gone through inner changes, but I feel like this year has been stable overall, in the sense of like I've had support to fall back on. I did have my own apartment and it was great and all, but maybe I wasn't super ready to be out on my own, especially in a different city. Even though I go to school there, and I have other family there, it just still felt a bit different and I felt very disconnected. And I wasn't close to my family, especially my mom and my sister. So maybe that was a big change. And so it's been nice to be back home. I definitely feel secure. I feel more stable and I feel more emotionally healthy and mentally healthy as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but as for other changes, I wouldn't say I've really experienced them. I think honestly, like a lot of, or the majority of my lifetime, I've been relatively stable. And then I just see often like a lot of my friends or my family members going through different things. And so, of course, seeing their experiences and feeling for them, that's like really where all of it comes from, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious to learn a bit more about your spiritual journey,
Of course.
because you are gifted in various avenues. You are a doula, a Reiki master, a tarot reader, an advisor, and aberisa. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Aberisha, yes.
Um, which like what did that evolution into your spiritual gifts look like? And how did you come about each of these gifts?
So, ever since I was younger, of course, like being raised in a Black household, the main religion which most Black Americans practice is typically Christianity. And I live with my grandmother, my grandparents, my great grandparents. For a few years, I had had heart surgery at age 4. So my mom, she was working, she works in the government. And of course, like I needed to stay with somebody. And my grandparents, they absolutely adore me. So they had me stay with them in Virginia. Of course, Virginia, Black grandparents, of course, I was raised on Christianity. And I always felt a bit disconnected from it.
Mhm.
And, everyone finds their sense of community, but I just didn't really find it there. So I kind of went through, my childhood, not really connecting to it, not really having a religion, not feeling any sort of connection to a religious community. Um, Even in the sense of spirituality, I felt like there was a connection there, maybe to nature, to the universe, but of course I'm still a child and I don't know much. Plus, of course, like with the way Christianity kind of paints or illustrates other religions and practices, of course, you're seen as the devil or something if you practice anything other than that.
Mhm.
So towards middle school, high school, I started to connect with myself more deeply. And I think that's kind of what really started to pick up, or yeah, kind of kickstarted everything for me, just connecting with myself and exploring myself. Thankfully, I've never been on like the new age spirituality path. It was more so just, I know there's like a connection to the universe. I know that there's something, some sort of energy working with us and, you know, connecting us all with one another. And in middle school, I think, in my history class, we started learning about Hindu and Buddhist beliefs and the idea of reincarnation and samsara. And it was all really interesting to me. Of course, I didn't practice Buddhism or Hinduism, but just following that path of the idea of reincarnation and how we're all connected. So I get to high school, still don't really have a religion, still kind of floating, but still knowing I am so connected to the universe. And so it just felt like everything fell into place, honestly. Like, as I think about it now, it feels like everything fell into place. A counselor of mine, my college counselor, she was going through a transformative period in her life. And so she said she was going to go receive Reiki. And I was like, wow, what's that? I look it up. It's this Japanese form of energetic healing. So powerful. I absolutely love it. Like, I love receiving it. I love performing it. I think it's beautiful. It's like, it's so life-changing. The moment I started learning about it and I became trained, like, I think that definitely was a big part of just me changing overall in this year. A friend of mine also read tarot cards, and I've always, you know, seen them. I've always noticed them and looked at them, and, you know, they're beautiful. And so I picked up my own deck in like 9th grade, and I tried to work with it. I was like, I don't really know. So then I just sat it down for a lot of years. I think honestly, it's in yes, here it is. My first tarot deck, this little small baby deck. And I've had it ever since like 9th grade, maybe not 9th grade, possibly like even 8th grade summer. Wow. So I tried to, like, I love this deck. I don't really use it. I use it only for myself. So, you know, I put it away for maybe 2 years or so. And then I finally returned back to it. And like, I did a reading for maybe a friend of mine or something. And she was like, whoa, like, what? How did you know all of that? And of course we're friends. So like, I knew the basics, but you know, it was things that she had never told anyone before. And she was like, I am so surprised. And so I was like, oh yeah, I guess. And so I still put the cards back down because I just didn't feel ready. And, you know, I wasn't going to force myself to try to push myself to do something I wasn't ready for or didn't have enough knowledge on. So, you know, I spent a lot of my time doing research, Gemini 9th house stellium. So I'm always looking up different things. And then I get in college and I start working with them again. And I work with them like every day or so, but I only work with myself. I still didn't work with other people. And then towards the end of my freshman first semester, I finally started doing readings for other people. And the first reading I did for someone in my dorm room, she started crying. And I was like, oh my goodness, yeah. And of course, I feel like when I was younger, I definitely wasn't as, like, when people started crying in front of me, I just like look at them and I'm like, are you sure? Like, why are you crying? Of course, I've changed since then. And I feel like tarot and working with different divination tools has been a big part of that. So as I started working with tarot and I entered my spring semester of freshman year, and that's when COVID hit. And I chose to take a gap semester from school because for some reason, all through school, like even in middle school and elementary school, everyone's always been like, you're so gifted, Jada, you're so smart. And it's like, that's great, but I'm not happy here. So I was like, you know, I can't keep putting myself in a space where I don't feel nurtured or I feel like I'm not growing or I'm restricting myself in some way. I feel like limits is a big challenge that I have. As much as I do want structure or I do want to be in spaces, if there's limits or if there's a sense of like, I have to do this in this moment, I can't do anything else, I start to not feel like myself and I start to shut down. So, you know, it all felt like an alignment. I chose to take my gap semester, and then a week or two later, my school closed because of COVID. So I was home safe and sound, and I started working more and more. And I think that's when like my big transformation happened. It's just like, every single day it was something new, and it was something new. I kept seeing the number 3, and that's also a message of change. And that's kind of what a number that I really, really resonate with. And it was just constant change.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I finally felt really settled in like who I was and where I was and what my spiritual journey meant. And maybe I didn't even refer to it as a spiritual journey then. I think it was just like I'm connecting with myself and I feel at home. I finally felt like I had a community. Of course, I wasn't really working with other people and I wasn't, and I didn't have some sort of structured religion, but I just felt connected to others because I was like, we're all here for a reason and we're all connected to one another. And again, that idea of reincarnation and how, we do good unto others and then we reincarnate into something greater. We have these guides, we have these ancestors who are working for us. And it was beautiful. That summer, like last summer, was beautiful, absolutely beautiful, because it felt so good. I felt really free. I didn't feel restricted and I felt like I was growing closer to myself, growing a lot, maturing a lot, like so quickly, and not
Yeah.
because of some horrible experience, but just maturing because I was seeing the world in a different, way different light. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
in high school, middle school, we all do things that we regret. So like, it took a while to get there and it took a while to get here. And I'm so proud of myself. So this year has kind of been like, setting that foundation in, working with different modalities of energy like Reiki, and then also working and training to become a doula. Oh my gosh, it has been so fun. My class and my training was so fun. I met a really great group of other doulas. And, I've also brought my own kind of identity to it as well, which has been really great.
Mm-hmm.
So this summer is like when I plan to really put a lot more energy into being a doula and offering birth support, and then also hopefully offering teaching in Reiki, but we'll see how that goes. And then as for my religion, my spirituality, my practice, my way of life now.
Mm-hmm.
So I started working with my Baba. A Baba is a Yoruban priest. And so now I am working to gain knowledge and to start practicing Ifa. And it just felt like things have fallen into alignment there as well. So he's based in Florida. So we typically have phone calls when I do my Ifa. And so Ifa is a divination. And so it calls on the stories of the Yoruban people and how they relate to our life in this moment. So I think it was like earlier this year, maybe in February, and I went to sleep. No, right before I went to sleep, I said, oh, I wish my Baba would come to DC. I want to meet him in person. I fall asleep. I have a dream that he's in DC. And then I wake up. I think it was like on a Friday. So I wake up Saturday morning and I get an email. He says that he's coming to DC for a while and he's staying with my cousin. And I didn't even know. So I have a cousin. I'm friends with my male cousin, and well, not friends, but like we're related. And so he has a sister that I'm not super close with, and that's
Mm-hmm.
who he's staying with. So I get to finally meet him. It was such an incredible experience. So my next step, well, also he's coming for my birthday next week, which I'm excited for, which I didn't even know about. It's kind of like a surprise. And so my next step is receiving my Ishefa, which is my hand of Ifa. And I will figure out kind of like my destiny and my life path and who I'm a child of, one of the Orishas, which is so exciting. So yeah, I'm really excited for my journey there. And I think it's taking me back to myself more. I feel like this year, as I've started working with other people,
Mm-hmm.
I've definitely given a lot of other people my energy and it's been great. I've met some incredible people. I have wonderful friends and clients and, I've heard so many stories, but it's going to be so rewarding and exciting to finally get back to myself for a while. So I'm excited for that whenever it happens.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing all of that. And it seems like everything really has been falling into place for you.
Yeah.
What do you feel has contributed to the ease of the alignment in your life?
Honestly, I don't know. I guess my ancestors like really like love me or something. I really don't know. It's like I'll think about something and then all of a sudden things just fall into place, which is so great. Like I'm so grateful. And it definitely
Mm-hmm.
helps with the anxiety that I have. So earlier you were talking about manifesting and like how it's, really just about being present in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So for me lately, I haven't really been manifesting or making an effort to speak something into existence. I'm just like, show me the way, I'll do what I need to, and everything falls into place. I've been making way more of an effort to hold myself accountable, to reflect, to grow, but to also be kind to myself, to be kind to others and to be a part of this community and, be a part of this world and connect with everyone else. So yeah, I wouldn't say like if there's anything specific that I know of. I think it's just been a really great journey for me, which I'm so happy
Mm-hmm.
for. And I hope I hope everyone else's can be like this as well. I think that's a big thing that I touch upon whenever I'm working with a client is like, I'm like, you have free will to do what you want. Your guides are always going to support you. And the more that you follow through with your goals and the more that you have pure intentions, everything else falls into place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I feel like, I mean, I would guess that your desire to not have restrictions and to constantly be allowing yourself to expand because of that probably also comes into play with these alignments.
Yes, I most definitely think so. Of course, like my anxiety, it kind of controls my life, but I'm working on it. So like there's always that thing there, but I'm just like, I can't allow this thing to control me. I'm still in control of me. And of course, with my pole class, with my therapy and just, being present and working with Reiki, it's really allowed me to focus on body presence. So,
Mm-hmm.
just the more I'm present for myself and I'm like doing daily check-ins, I'm like, am I okay? How do I feel? How are we doing emotionally? Just being present there has definitely helped me with that idea of breaking free of restrictions and not being afraid to be free. I think that's a big fear and possibly even like one of the generational curses or cycles that, my family has is just being unable to be free or feeling like they have to attach to something. So that's
Mm-hmm.
something I'm really working on, is working to free myself of any attachment, or material thing that makes me feel safe. Like, how can I work to feel safe within my body and feel safe within my connection to the universe, to the orishas, and to others as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like feeling safe outside of materialism or really like any kind of external thing that is kind of outside of your
Yeah.
control, just feeling free within yourself and secure within
Yeah.
yourself.
I
Yeah.
think it also, sorry to cut you off, but I think it also has to do with like detachment as well. Of course, that's possible. Yeah, I feel like it's a hot topic that we constantly talk about, on Twitter, social media, in the quote unquote spiritual world. I hate that word, but for lack of a better word, I'll just say that. But this idea of detachment and what that looks like. And I've really been working on what detachment looks like for me because I think it's different for everyone. Our idea of healthy is different for everyone. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, with like detachment, I think it's just about being like wherever I'm physically present in, that's where I am. I was telling my therapist, like, I know I talk about my girlfriend a lot, but I promise I'm not overly attached to her because when I'm with my therapist or when I'm with someone, when I'm with a client, when I'm sitting at my desk right now, I'm not thinking about her. I'm not thinking about anything else but this present moment because I know everything else around me, even if I can't see it, I can't hear it, I can't feel it. I know that it's safe, I know that it's stable, and I know that things are okay. And I think it also comes from just trusting trust itself. That is how I've been able to practice detachment because, maybe you can't trust everyone, you can't trust everything, but if you can trust, that's all you need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I, from everything that you're saying, I love how much you invest in yourself. And I just want to congratulate you on that.
Thank you. It's been a long way. I feel like when I was younger, or maybe not when I was younger, but of course in middle school, high school, like you're trying to find yourself, you're trying to figure out who you are, you're trying to be friends with everyone. I feel like I've tried to change myself for other people. Maybe not tried to change myself to fit in, but I did things that I wanted to do. And then people would be upset that I did things that I would wanted to do. And then I would try to like change myself or do something so people wouldn't be upset with me. And at this point in my life, I can't keep wasting my energy trying to do something for others or be something for others. I'm just going to be me. I know I'm going to connect with the right people. And then also at the same time, I'm not going out of my way to be rude to someone or to be mean to someone. I'm going to be me always. So it's been really, really helpful. I think the fact that I got to live on my own for a little while, I've gone through this process. My mom and my dad, like all my family gives me a lot of space, and I have a lot of freedom. So it's given me that time to really figure out, okay, how do I need to give care to myself and give love to myself, especially when I didn't in my past? How can I, heal and connect with my inner child in the way that I didn't in my past?
Shout out to supportive family members who hold space for you, because it is so important and it really does assist your journey.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's been the best. Of course, like when you first start out, like, spreading your wings and becoming independent, trying to figure out who you are, going to college, your parents and people around you are like, okay, like, what are you doing? What's going on? Like, you still need to check in with me. But I kind of didn't do that. I just started doing what I wanted. Like, with school, like I applied to literally like a few schools and I got into these really great schools, but I was like, no, I want to be in New York. So I chose a school in New York. And so my parents were like, are you sure you want to do that? I was like, yes, I'm sure I want to do that. I chose to take my gap semester, and I told my mom like the day after I filled out the form, and she's like, oh, so you're coming home? I'm like, yeah. And then I got my own apartment. I told my parents like the day after I signed the lease. They're like, oh, okay. So it's just like they kind of had to get used to it. But at the same time, they trust me and they've seen me grow. And, I think the fact that they haven't put limits on me, they felt more confident just seeing me grow and not feeling like, okay, I have to watch Jada's every single move. Like I can just allow her to be, and I trust that she's going to make the right decisions. So it's really great, and not everyone has parents like that. And, it's a hard journey to get here. It wasn't just like, oh, suddenly they started letting me just do what I want. Of course, when I was younger, things are not like that, but I'm really grateful for the relationship and where we are now, because I feel like I can talk to them as an adult. They can tell me like, okay, Jada, you don't need to be doing this, but I can also tell them like, Kim, James, y'all don't need to be doing this. And we can just have a really open conversation. It feels like, of course, parents, but we're friends. So.
Yeah. I do want to touch more on detachment and liberating yourself from attachments. When you say that you are working on detaching yourself, what does that look like for you?
Okay, so excuse my French, but literally it's just like saying fuck it. Like if I have a goal, like I don't know how I'm gonna get there just yet. And sometimes I have this huge notebook that has literally words in every single page. So I create goals for my day, for my week, for my month. I create a schedule. I have all of this stuff. Like I try to get organized, but then sometimes I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna do it. And that's that sense of detachment and like, trying not to have attachment to the outcome or to the journey. You just have to allow yourself to be. As for releasing attachment to like people or expectations, again, still like, fuck it. I don't really even know how it came about. I think it was just, maybe it's just like a trauma response of me being so used to feeling like I was let down by friends, by, people I was in relationships with, to this point where I was just like, you know what, the only person I can trust is me. So if I can let go of my expectations or, my hopes and my dreams for everybody else around me, I can put more energy into myself. And by putting more energy into myself in this present moment, everything I hope to get to will end up manifesting. So yeah, maybe fuck it has been a thing. Maybe trusting trusted self as well. And yeah, just releasing, or it takes hard work. So just saying like releasing attachment to other people, it's not just going to magically fix stuff, but it's kind of speaking to yourself and telling yourself like, I can't hold these people to standards, like, because they haven't shown themselves to me, or these expectations that I have of people. Like, if I don't express those, how are they going to fulfill them? So yeah, it's been a weird, interesting journey of trying to find and figure out what that is. But again, everyone has their own idea of healthy. Everyone has their own idea of healthy detachment, healthy attachment. So people have to really find it on their own.
Yeah, I think it is so important to acknowledge that there isn't necessarily like one right way of doing things. And I think that people get so fixated on that, on like trying to find like the one solution, and they'll turn to someone for advice or a reading or a message, and they'll depend on that thing to like fix their problem or fix their attachment, whatever the case may be. And then when it doesn't work, it's like they end up being more confused or, frustrated. And it really, truly is like finding out what works best for you and turning inward and placing more attention on like you and your journey and acknowledging that it is unique.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I love how earlier in the conversation you mentioned how you acknowledged a cycle that repeats in your family. And I feel like that is one of the most resourceful pieces, I guess, of information and awareness that we can all gain, is like taking note of what are the cycles that repeat within our family and within ourselves. What are some of the cycles, if you don't mind sharing, that you personally are working through at this time?
I'd definitely say communication. Of course, I talk a lot. I talk a lot with my clients, and I push people around me, especially people I'm in personal relationships with, to be open and to communicate. And I feel like I'm an open, communicative person. But I just had a conversation with my girlfriend last week about something that I didn't like within the relationship. And she was sitting right on my bed, and I was sitting in my chair, and I couldn't look at her. Like I couldn't make eye contact. I kept like just twiddling my fingers. I was playing with my tarot cards, just finding something to do because I was scared to, like, I guess, look her in the face. And that's always been a cycle of mine that I've been trying to work through. And sometimes I feel a little bit like a hypocrite, because I'm like, you need to learn how to communicate. You need to, work on that. And then, at the same time, it's like, yes, I can get my words out, but I can't even look someone in the eye when I get my words out and speak my truth. So that's like a big, big, cycle that I'm really working on. That's a big one for me. And again, I think it just stems from my anxiety. I feel like I blame everything on that. Another cycle, I feel like that's the big one. Do I feel like there's any more? I feel like I've really been making an effort to like acknowledge and address, like, okay, Jada, like, you need to check yourself, or, you need to address this or that. So I wouldn't really say there is any other one. I really think it's just the whole communication thing. And then, like, again, the anxiety thing, mental health, so important. So I think just the whole thing surrounding my anxiety, or like my emotional stability and groundedness, affects a lot of like certain things that I do in my life. So I don't want to call those patterns or certain behaviors or things. They're just like things that I can't really control due to what I've experienced in my past. So, maybe we can call like I kind of sometimes push my parents out, or I push my family out and I don't really want to talk to them. Maybe we can call that a cycle, but then it's kind of just a, product of my anxiety and just feeling stressed out and needing that time alone. So yeah, I think sometimes like with cycles and patterns, we really have to take note, like, is it really something that we have created within ourselves, or is it a reflection of what we've experienced in our past or what we're experiencing right now?
Yeah. What are some cycles or a cycle that you're proud of breaking?
Hmm. Okay, so of course I still definitely do what I want. Still like embrace that whole freedom thing, and also I have an Aries moon, so like I'll just do something, don't care about the risks. I'm just like, I want to do this, I want to make it happen. And so in high school, of course, we all make horrible decisions. We make things that we regret. And so I've done a few things where I've acted carelessly, and didn't think about the emotions or how my actions would affect close friends to me. And of course, it's something that I definitely regret and I want to, work to address and move on from. And so as I've, grown and graduated and moved on, I've had to take that time to sit with myself, to kind of sit in solitude, to not be friends with anyone, or like still have friends, but not connect with them or not hang out with them, because I needed that time. I needed to figure out, why do I do things on impulse, and why do the things that I do affect other people, or why aren't I taking into account other people's emotions? So, and then I was like, if I can't be a good friend, how can I expect other people to be good friends to me? So, through that time of solitude, I really had to think about, what do I consider a good friend? What is my love language? How do I want to receive support? What do I want out of my friendships? And then what am I willing to offer? And, what patterns or cycles, of course, do I need to address that can hold me back from creating healthy, lifelong friendships? So I had to take that time. And then I got in college and I've made such incredible friends. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see them at the end of June, because I haven't seen them for a few months, of course, with COVID. So, I've made incredible friends, and I've really worked, like, not worked super hard and like overexhausted myself trying to be a good friend, but I was just making more of an effort. I'm working to communicate more, to really support them and love them in the way that they needed to be. Just to have fun with them and to not act on impulse too much. And it's been so great, because now I feel like, not only am I a good friend, but like I'm receiving such great friendship and love and support from them. Like just a few months ago, I was dealing with a problem with another friend of mine, and I didn't talk about it with anyone. Like no one really knew what was going on. And then all of a sudden, another friend of mine called me and checked up on me. And of course, we talked about the situation, but also it just took like that whole entire 2-hour FaceTime call to just be vulnerable. Like I cried for the first time in front of a friend of mine. And like, I told her like, this is how I'm feeling. This is what I'm experiencing. And she's like, you never talk about this stuff with us. And I'm like, I know, because I'm scared. I like feel like I need to always be the one who is like, the strong one, or like the one who talks about things with y'all. So it was really nice and it felt really good. It felt so nice to know that I was being heard and that I was being seen. And, I try to make an effort to do that within all my friendships now. Like, I am so grateful for the friends that I have now. They are so incredible. And I've also got to reconnect with friends from high school as well. So, I've seen them grow and they see me grow. So it's just all good. I'm really, really proud of myself for addressing that cycle.
Yeah, it really is so important to embody and reflect the qualities that you desire in others.
Yes.
I feel like, that saying that says like show up as your higher self, like think of who your higher self is, how your higher self is, and then show up as that higher self today. And I love that you were so intentional in that process of, asking yourself and being reflectional on like, okay, what kind of friendships do I want? What does good friendship look like? How do I define it? How do I want them to make me feel? And then you took on the I mean, I don't know if responsibility is the right word, but like you took on the accountability, I guess, to make sure that you can offer that to others, to your
Yeah.
friends. And now they're being reflected back in
Yes.
return. I love
It's so
that.
great. It's so, so great. I'm incredibly grateful for them. I'm also grateful for myself for doing that because, of course, I was a good friend, but there were a few things that I shouldn't have done. And so it's really great to be able to forgive myself for that, and be able to grow and move on. And of course, I hope like other friends from high school like have also been able to forgive and also been able to move on. Nobody's perfect. The most perfect we can be is just holding ourselves accountable and working
Mm-hmm.
towards growth and elevating ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What made you feel called to return home?
I don't really know, honestly. I could have, maybe stayed in New York, and because my other friends as well, like they wanted to get an apartment together and we were all planning that. And that will possibly still happen, maybe towards the end of this year or even towards the end of summer. We'll see how everything goes. But I think I came home a lot. Every single time I would like go home for a while and be in my apartment. And then as soon as like I would sit down and watch TV, I'd be like, whoa, I'm really lonely. I would cook food by myself. I'd be like, but there's so much food. And, I wish I could share it with someone else. And so then I would just buy an Amtrak ticket home and come home for a little while. And I would stay for a really long time and then finally go back home for like another 2 weeks and then come back home.
Mm.
So it was, I think that decision, like I chose to move like immediately right after my birthday. So it was a decision that, or maybe not a decision. I was proud of myself for being able to get my own apartment. But I don't know if I'm super happy about the decision that I really chose to make. Maybe I made
Mm-hmm.
it too quickly. And like, of course, I don't want to regret every or all decisions that I make in my past, but I feel like I maybe could have just waited. Like, I wasn't in a bad place with my mom. And like, again, she's really supportive and she just allows me to, be me and do as I please. But I don't know what was spurring me to just run and kind of try to live on my own. And of course, my dad lives in New York, so I had him there. But I don't know. I feel like it was, now that I sit here, I don't know if it was the best decision.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was fun. It was great. Had my own space. But it's really nice to be back home. And I think it's nice because, I have my dogs here, which is great. I can drive because New York, I would never drive. I'd walk everywhere. I'd take the train. Plus, New York is definitely becoming way more unsafe, and living on my own, being a woman, it's just a lot. Um, and I think it may even be easier for me to like connect here. I think like connect with other people, connect with myself.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. And based on my astrocartography, there is a Venus line that goes right through New York. And it's not the best line. It's a line that kind of points to me constantly feeling lonely, and
Mm-hmm.
striving for love or for relationships in that area. And I feel like I did that. May have made some poor dating choices, but who doesn't?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good to be back home. I don't want to say I made the wrong choice again, like with the whole move, but maybe it was made too quickly.
Yeah, you live and you learn. And I
Yeah.
feel like ultimately, like we still are always like where we're meant to be, regardless, if we
Yeah.
regret a choice that we made. Um, I feel like being home too and being around family and reconnecting with your high school friends also, I would guess, would reconnect you to your inner child.
Um, I feel like here because like again, I didn't really grow up being raised by my mom, especially from like age 4 to 3rd grade. So when I connect with my inner child, that's when I have to go all the way back to Virginia, to like a real small town. No McDonald's, no sort of fast food. It's literally just a grocery store, a post office, a pizza place, and like an ice cream shop. So that's my type of like getting reconnected with my inner child. My grandfather passed in like 2012. So, every single time I go back there, like it's really just my grandma now, but she still has my room the exact same. The two twin beds, the two like comforters. There's this painting of me from I think my 4th birthday on the wall that my dad had done. All my books from elementary school, well, pre-K, elementary school, all of that stuff, posters, all of that stuff. So every single time I go back, I look in all the drawers and I go through everything. I'm like, oh my gosh, little baby me, so cute. And as for like being back home, like with my parents and my sister and stuff, like, I don't know, this feels more so just like, as I grow, this area grows with me. But if I go back home to my grandma's, it's more so just like kind of blast from the past. Everything definitely stays the same there, which is really, really nice.
Yeah. You mentioned that last summer, you shifted your perspective on the world. What was that perspective shift? Like, how did you see the world prior to summer 2020, and how did it change once you went through that?
I think intersectionality is such a big thing. Like, it affects our lives so intensely, and especially with spirituality and the whole idea of new age spirituality and, the way it's kind of marketed, honestly, on social media is like people forget how our identities affect ourselves and affect other people. People are always talking about, being broke as a mindset, or, you have to manifest, you have to do these things, or, like your resources, and you have to be more healthy and all of these things, but they don't understand, like, especially from, a Black perspective, a Black woman, an immunocompromised Black woman. And there's so many things. And, I'm only one person, and I don't have every single identity. I don't identify as everything. But my existence and who I am has been politicized. Like, I'm not even seen completely as human in the eyes of the government. So that has a large effect. And then we were in a pandemic, and it wasn't even just the rise of police brutality. It was just the fact that it kept happening back to back, and still has continued to ever since I was younger. And just the way the government was handling it, the way I saw a lot of like non-Black people in response to it, it became overwhelming. And then again, being in a pandemic, like, I can't go anywhere. I can't go to the protests because, I'm immunocompromised. There were so many things. So I was just sitting here feeling very bottled up, feeling very overwhelmed with so many emotions of feeling like I can't do anything. One, I can't do anything just in the world because, I'm seen as different compared to other people and other identities. And then I can't do anything to help my community. So I think just everything that went on last year had a really big impact on the way that I saw the world. Of course, at first, like, I've never really, I wouldn't say like not trusted the government in the sense of like conspiracy theorists, but I've never trusted the government with my life because I've never been seen as someone who is deserving of life. So it's shifted there in the sense of like, we are all that we can depend on. We can't, really depend on the rich. We can't depend on the government. There's certain people with certain beliefs that we can't depend on. And I'm not looking to create community with people who don't see me as, who I am, for people who only see me as my race or my gender or whatever, or any sort of identity. So that sense of community has been really big. I've been trying my hardest, not only to educate myself, but to give back. I know, like, I'm a minority and I don't have as much privilege, but I do still at the end of the day have a privilege compared to others. So how can I support my community and reconnect with my community? Because again, that is all that we have. So I think
Mm-hmm.
also that's definitely spurred like the fact that I've wanted to grow so much closer to my ancestors. Because, you hear a lot like, I hate those shirts and all of those sayings of like, we are not our ancestors, we'll hit you, all of this stuff. Like, our ancestors have been doing that. They've led the liberation movement. They led revolutions. Like they've done way more than we can. And they
Mm-hmm.
barely had the resources that we do. So reconnecting with them has helped me find my power in so many ways. It's helped me remove a lot of fear. It's of course brought a lot more resentment and a lot more anger. But it's helped me remove that fear. So I'm able to do the work. So I'm able to educate myself. So I'm able to strive and make an effort to help and support my community and those around me. So yeah, that whole past year, the whole summer was life changing, and it's spurred my political views in a different direction, my social views, as well as my spiritual growth and involvement there.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of
Of
that.
course, of course.
And I also feel the same way when people say, we are not our ancestors or anything of that light. I feel like it's pretty disrespectful because we
Right.
literally are, our ancestors, and we ourselves are
Exactly.
ancestors in the making. And I do feel like, yes, we do have ancestors from our lineage that may not have lived their lifetimes with the purest of intentions, but they're still within us.
Right.
So I agree with you on that. For those who are listening to this and are like, like I want to feel that, like I want to connect with my ancestors, but I don't know how. Like, what would you say to them?
They're already within you. There's no way in which you have to like go out of your way and make more of an effort to connect with them. They are already within you. Like if you have family photo books, hopefully, if you have family who are still alive, connect with them. Like respecting your elders is a really, really big principle in Ifa, because Ifa and the Yoruba like stories, all of those are told through oral tradition. Like things aren't really written down. Of course, like as I'm trying to gain more knowledge and an understanding, I have books, but I have to depend on my Baba and my elders around me to learn more about the stories. So if we aren't respecting our elders, you can't respect your ancestors. They're literally about to be your ancestors. So the first step I'd say to connect with your ancestors, if you have elders, please go reach out to them, go talk to them, give them something. If they like a certain candy, go take it to them. Even if you don't want to sit and talk to them for a long time, go take it to them, see how they are, call them, check in with them. And then, if you don't have family members who are older, who are alive, you can still talk to your parents, you can talk to your sisters, your siblings, anybody who would have any sort of knowledge about who has come before you. And then even look at family photos and all of those things. You can look up your family name online if you want to. And then again, you can just start with yourself. You don't need anything else. You don't need a photo book. You don't need other, people around you. In Ifa, your ancestors are stored in your big toe. So like if you want to sit and like meditate with your big toe, or just, meditate in general and think about, uh, where's my lineage from? Who am I? And see what comes about. Like I always tell people to start with their five senses. What do you taste? What do you hear? What do you smell? What do you feel? And what do they sound like? What sounds do you hear? Even if you don't hear someone's voice, do you hear birds chirping? Do you hear, some sort of like music, whatever that is? I had a client last year who I worked with for a pretty long time, just over for like spiritual advisement overall, and connecting with her ancestors because she was adopted. And
Mm-hmm.
so, yeah, it was like an incredible experience because we did this meditation, and she said she kept smelling coffee. She kept smelling coffee. Turns
Mm.
out like one of her grandfathers, great grandfathers, either I think he was like owned some sort of coffee, I don't want to say plantation, coffee farm. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
Or he worked on one. And so she had never met him before. And so that's how she had started to grow a connection with ancestors that one she's never met, and then other ancestors that, she started to learn more about. So it all starts with like, okay, I need to sit with myself and I need to be present within my own body, and then just be present, with my family. I think it's very hard though. Like, this is kind of where it gets to become a tricky and sticky situation of like, if we have a lot of resentment or anger towards our family, especially due to trauma we may have experienced or things that have happened that have affected us, even if we didn't know what has happened, it still affected us. And so I'm not going to say like you have to forgive and, accept everything that has happened to you. But if you hold a lot of resentment and anger towards your family or towards your family line, it's going to affect your relationship with your ancestors. So that's something that, especially white people, like, dealing with slave owners and imperialists and all of the long list of crimes that they have committed, that's something that they have to work through. It's not about forgiving, because I wouldn't forgive them anyway, but it's about, holding accountability for them, and then also for how you reap the benefits of it. And also realizing like you can't what's the word, like, you can't take yourself out of that equation. Like, you have to hold them accountable. You have to hold your ancestors accountable, and you also have to hold yourself accountable. Like, I'm reaping the benefits of this. And like with a lot of new age spirituality, I talk about it all the time, is like, people, especially white people, they'll take the practices of other indigenous and African cultures, say that they don't work with their ancestors, but you are literally doing the work of your ancestors by cultural appropriation. So I think it's important for everyone, white, Black, any other ethnicity, whatever that they may be, connect with your ancestors. Whatever they have done, take accountability, or have them take accountability for it. You take accountability for the benefits that you've reaped, and focus on growth and being an ancestor who is about, empowerment and connection to all.
Yeah. That was beautiful. Yes. Thank you for sharing all of your wisdom and knowledge. And I really do encourage everyone who wants to get more in tune with themselves and want to, I guess, get more into spirituality, is like, go towards your own ancestral practices. Because sometimes if you see someone using sage and your own ancestral, lineage never really used sage, like it's just not going to hit the same, as it does for someone else. So, again, going back on, what we touched on earlier, is like recognizing that we're all on our own unique journeys and paths, and you have to really go within yourself to find out what works for you.
Yes, I completely agree.
Thank you so much. I feel like I could speak with you all day.
This is so fun.
You're such a good communicator, and very well spoken and confident about, how I receive you is you just feel very confident about
I cry like so fast. Oh my goodness.
You do. You just come off just so confident in your path and like, what you're working towards, and acceptance. And I just really value people who hold themselves accountable and are self-aware in that way, because it impacts all of us,
Yes.
So thank you so much for being a guest on my podcast, for sharing your journey with us. I do want to hold space for you if you feel called to share anything before we close out this conversation. But if not, no worries at all.
I really don't have anything to say. I, of course, want to thank you so much. I'm so honored with my anxiety. Of course, I was a little shaky before getting on here, but I feel I feel at so much peace. And I feel really good. I have a few things to finish after this before my pole class. So I just feel like, I got all this good energy and I get to use it and, finish everything I need to do. And yeah, this is a wonderful way to start my day.